The Phantom of Ashwood Lake. Nestled in the heart of a dense forest, Ashwood Lake was known for its serene beauty during the day and eerie atmosphere at night. Locals often shared tales about the lake's haunting, but none were as chilling as the story of the Phantom of Ashwood Lake. Decades ago, there was a tragic accident at the lake. A young couple, Emily and Michael, were celebrating their engagement with a moonlit boat ride. As they drifted across the water, a sudden storm rolled in, capsizing their boat. Michael managed to swim to shore, but Emily was never found. Her body was presumed to be lost in the murky depths of the lake. Heartbroken and racked with guilt, Michael spent every night searching the lake for any sign of Emily, but he never found her. He claimed that he could hear her voice calling out to him from the water, begging for help. Eventually, his grief consumed him, and he took his own life by drowning himself in the lake. Years passed, and the story of Emily and Michael became a ghost story told around campfires. The lake was said to be haunted by Emily's restless spirit, forever searching for her lost love. Locals claimed that on certain nights, when the moon was full, a mist would rise from the lake, and the phantom of Emily could be seen walking on the water, calling out for Michael. One summer, a group of college friends decided to spend a weekend camping by Ashwood Lake. They had heard the ghost stories but dismissed them as nothing more than local folklore. Among them was Claire, an adventurous and skeptical young woman who was determined to debunk the legend. On the second night of their stay, Claire and her friends sat around a campfire, sharing ghost stories and daring each other to visit the lake at midnight. Claire accepted the challenge, eager to prove that there was nothing to fear. Armed with a flashlight and her phone, she made her way to the edge of the lake. As the clock struck midnight, a thick fog began to roll in, obscuring the moon and casting an eerie glow over the water. Claire's flashlight flickered, then went out, leaving her in darkness. She felt a chill in the air and heard a faint, sorrowful voice calling her name. Her heart raced, but she forced herself to move closer to the water's edge. Suddenly, she saw a figure emerge from the mist, a pale, translucent woman in a flowing dress, her eyes filled with despair. The phantom extended a hand towards Claire, whispering, "Help me find Michael." Paralyzed with fear, Claire could only watch as the ghostly figure glided across the surface of the lake, disappearing into the fog. The voice continued to echo around her, growing fainter until it faded away completely. Terrified, Claire stumbled back to the campsite, her friends' laughter dying as they saw the look of sheer horror on her face. She recounted her experience, and for the rest of the night, none of them dared to approach the lake. From that day on, Claire became a believer in the legend of Ashwood Lake. She warned others to stay away, especially on nights when the mist rose from the water, for the Phantom of Ashwood Lake still wandered the shore, eternally searching for her lost love, and anyone who heard her call might never return. The Whispering Shadows. In a small, forgotten town nestled deep within a dense forest, there existed an abandoned mansion known as Blackwood Manor. The mansion had a sinister reputation, whispered about by the few locals who still dared to speak of it. They said that anyone who entered never came back the same. One cold, foggy evening, a young journalist named Emily decided to investigate the mansion. She was determined to uncover the truth behind the chilling tales and write an article that would finally put the town on the map. Armed with only a flashlight, her camera, and a notebook, she approached the wrought iron gates of Blackwood Manor. The gates creaked open as if welcoming her, and Emily stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the mansion. The air grew colder with each step, and a sense of foreboding washed over her. She paused at the front door, hesitating for just a moment before pushing it open. Inside, the mansion was eerily silent. Dust-covered furniture loomed like shadowy figures, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. Emily's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing cobwebs and peeling wallpaper. She began to explore, her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. As she moved deeper into the mansion, Emily noticed strange symbols etched into the walls, symbols she couldn't decipher. Her curiosity grew, and she took pictures, making notes in her journal. The atmosphere grew heavier, and she felt as though unseen eyes were watching her every move. In one of the upstairs bedrooms, Emily found an old diary lying on a dusty bed. The diary belonged to a young girl named Lydia who had lived in the mansion over a century ago. Lydia wrote about her loneliness and the strange occurrences that plagued her family. She mentioned the shadows that whispered to her at night, promising to take away her pain. Emily's heart raced as she read the diary. The last entry sent chills down her spine. They are here. The shadows. They want me to join them. I cannot resist any longer. Suddenly, Emily heard a faint whispering, like a distant chant. She turned off her flashlight, relying on the pale moonlight filtering through the cracked windows. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, and she realized it was coming from the walls themselves. Terrified, she tried to leave the room, but the door slammed shut. Panic set in as the shadows seemed to come alive, creeping towards her. Their whispers grew louder, filling her mind with fear and despair. Emily screamed, but no one could hear her. The next morning, the townsfolk found the mansion's front door ajar. Emily's camera and notebook were discovered on the front steps, but there was no sign of her. Her disappearance was added to the long list of mysteries surrounding Blackwood Manor. To this day, the locals warn anyone who will listen, the shadows of Blackwood Manor are always hungry, and they whisper promises that should never be trusted.